Hello everyone, welcome to the last part of your engineering chemistry course. This is unit 5. I hope you had a very nice topics that is covered in our other units. So this particular unit, actually what we are going to cover, it's called nanomaterials. So before going into the details, let's have a look at the syllabus first, because then only you'll try to understand that what are the things that I am going to talk about, because this is not going to be done in one session. We are planning to actually divide into multiple sessions so that we can slowly build up the platform so that you can understand it better. Okay, so let's go for the syllabus. So as far as the syllabus is concerned for nanomaterial, we'll start with an introduction. That means what is nanomaterial and why it is important, especially why do you actually need to care about nanomaterial. That's the very, very important part that we are going to focus on. Then we are going to talk about classification and the properties, and followed by the synthesis. Now, while doing the synthesis, there are different ways of synthesizing nanomaterials, but we are going to talk about two major parts, because all the other synthesis that we have for nanomaterials, that can be grouped into two major types of synthesis, namely top down and bottom up. So once we build up this foundation, once we have introduction, classification, properties, especially where we are going to discuss more about why nanomaterials are different than their bulk material. So that's how, that's what is going to be taught in this particular topic under the heading of properties. After that, once we come to the synthesis, then that is going to give you some idea about how to synthesize, because when you talk about nanomaterial, you soon realize that it may sound a bit difficult for you to understand, but as far as the synthesis is concerned, at least some of the synthesis you can do it even in lab. In our lab, we regularly synthesize nanomaterials, so it's not that difficult to synthesize some of the nanomaterials, not all the nanomaterials. There are different ways to synthesize nanomaterial, but we will discuss that later on. Okay. So followed by that, we have the way we have actually structured the syllabus is actually we are going to discuss about synthesis properties and potential applications of fullerenes, carbon nanotubes and graphene. So these are the three major carbon based nanomaterials which have pretty much revolutionized the way we think of nanomaterials, the way we think of their applications. So that's why it becomes very, very important to learn about these particular three things. Okay, in fact, just to give you some idea, fullerenes got Nobel Prize, graphene got Nobel Prize. This one has not got Nobel Prize yet, but hopefully in the future there is a possibility that it may get Nobel Prize. Okay, so with that, let's discuss about what I am going to talk about, because as I said, this particular entire syllabus is going to be divided into multiple sessions or other modules, as you can call it. So as far as I am concerned, I will be mostly discussing about this part, majorly the introduction, classification, properties and the synthesis of nanomaterials. So once I build up the foundation, then another faculty, Professor Prabhakar Rao, will come and he is going to discuss about the other parts. Hope you are going to enjoy the journey that we are going to take together. Okay. So in the top four, the way I structured this is actually a bit different than what exactly just this heading says. As far as I am concerned, we first need to understand what we are trying to achieve after reading this particular topic, because if I cannot convince you the importance of this particular unit, then you may lose the interest. You may think that why you are actually discussing about this. Is it really necessary for you to understand about nanomaterial? So hopefully by end of this class, I will be able to convince you, no, at least some part of it is absolutely necessary for not only for science, engineering or anything, whatever you are studying. If you want to work in a field that actually is a very, very ever-growing field, then probably you are going to be using nanomaterials in one or the other way. Okay? So our aim is to provide a brief overview about basics, history, properties and applications of nanomaterial. This is what we just talked about. right? So, but what you are going to achieve after reading this? So, as I said, this nanomaterial is quite a vast field. So, I am not expecting, or rather, you should not also expect that you will learn everything in just one unit of the course. People are taking courses after courses on nanomaterials. Now, there are specialized courses on nanomaterials that can be taught. It's a semester-wise long courses that people are actually teaching. So, we are not expecting that in this particular module or rather unit, you are going to learn everything about nanomaterial. It's not possible. So, what you are going to learn? Your expected outcome is, upon completion of this unit, the students will be able to understand the fundamentals of nanoscience. What does nanoscience mean? That's essentially we are trying to understand. Then distinguish between the bulk and the nanomaterials. This is something very, very important, because what happens when you say nanomaterials, maybe you will have some idea about what the particular material is, but why it is different than the bulk part. For example, gold, you know the color of gold is yellowish, or now we call it as golden. But when it's at the nanoscale, then the color can be ranging from, let's say, red to even violet. Anything is possible. That depends on the beauty of nanoscale. So that's what we are going to actually discuss, and hopefully upon completion of this course, you will be able to distinguish that part. And last but not the least, hopefully you will be able to correlate the properties of nanomaterials with the applications. As I said, this is also very important, because if you know what property is actually going to be used for a particular application, then you know how to actually modify those properties. That is something very, very unique for this kind of material. Okay. So with that, as I said, the way I am going to discuss this: introduction of nanoscale, definition of nanomaterial, importance of nanomaterial, brief history about nanomaterial, because this is, we are now just actually getting very, very excited about these nanomaterials, but these nanomaterials are not new materials. People have been using this for long, for ages. Probably one of the first thing that people have tried using nanomaterial is when they actually invented fire. Because if you burn fire, a particular wood, the fire, the soot that it makes, that contains nanomaterial. It's just that now at those time, we didn't know that we have nanomaterial, we have synthesized nanomaterial. It's now only when we are starting to realize the potential of nanomaterial. Okay, so we are going to go through a brief history of nanomaterial. Then, as I said, the properties, classification of nanomaterial, synthesis of nanomaterials, and finally the applications of nanomaterial. So while discussing this application part, I'll obviously some part is going to be related to the importance of nanomaterials, because obviously when you are trying to emphasize why nanomaterials is important in our lives, we will hopefully give some idea, some applications of nanomaterial. But we will try to revisit that part when we will be discussing the applications. Okay. In today's lecture, I am going to discuss only the first three. So which is introduction of nanoscale, definition of nanomaterial, and importance of nanomaterial. And let's see how we are going to understand each of the topics. So before introducing nanomaterial, we really need to understand what is nanoscale. When we talk about nanoscale, there are two parts, right? One is nano, one is scale. Scale you already know, that means some sort of measurement is actually involved in it. What about nano? When we talk about nano, what is it actually that we are referring to? That's what we need to understand first. So the term nano actually comes from Greek word which means dwarf. What do you mean by dwarf? So this is, I have shown you two figures where actually Shah Rukh Khan and another movie, Kamal Haasan, they played the role of a dwarf. So that means something very, very small. But when I say very small, you can tell me that okay, in respect to what? Rather, when we are talking about a nanoscale, how small that is. That's actually very important part to know, because unless we talk about absolute value, it doesn't make sense, because in comparison to me this is small. But is it a nanomaterial? Obvious answer is no. So how small we have to be thinking when you actually want to relate to nanomaterial or nanoscale. So by definition, nanoscale or the nanometer is about 1/1000th of a meter. But when I tell you about this, that you can only identify the number, you can say small. So if I say what is the difference between 10 to the power minus 9 versus let's say 10 to the power minus 6, you can calculate based on mathematics is 1000, right? But do you really know how small that is? Do you know any object that is under nanoscale? Okay, so that's something that we really need to visualize and understand, because this is something that we cannot see by our naked eyes. This is something we really need to understand in order to make sure that we understand about nanoscale. Just to give you some idea, this is a scale chart. You already know about this part, right? For example, if you start with this is kilo, this is deci, centi, milli. These are the scale part we already know. This is something that we can still visualize. After that it becomes micro, then it becomes nano. So when we talk about nanometer, we are essentially talk about this much. So if you start with a kilometer, it's that small. So this is something that you really need to understand, because the beauty of nanoscience, when you talk about the beauty of nanoscience, is because once you start going down in size, their property changes. Their property changes in such a way that we can get novel applications out of it. So that's very important. Okay, so now one way of looking at it is that 10 hydrogen atoms lined up side by side are about 1 nanometer. Once again, this is for our understanding. We may get some idea about what do you mean by nanometer. 10 hydrogen atom, but hydrogen atom also you cannot really see. So in order to understand more, what I am going to do, I am going to actually give you some more examples of this scale, so that you kind of compare about nanoscale with the scale that you are actually looking into using naked eyes. Okay, with that, let's look at the scales of nature. Okay, so in this particular case, when we talk about our eyesight, in what terms we are looking into, what are the scales that you are looking into? Okay, you cannot see earth, you cannot see sun. Obviously you can see, but they are not in the size that you can perceive, right? So galaxies observable in here, these are actually huge material. This is on the larger size of the material scale. This is on the larger side of the scale. You cannot see electron, you cannot see atom, so this is at the lower side, right? This is probably the lowest side. Okay, now in addition to that, what is in between? In fact, that's the one that we are looking into, but still that's not the nanometer, still that's not the nanoscale. Okay, so we are talking about these examples. Let's talk about this one first. So whale is about 10 meter long, human is around 1 meter. Let's say we can, if you are obviously a big man, if you're a tall man, then you obviously can go to 1 to 1.5 meter. So your mouse is around 10 centimeter. Now a fruit fly, that fly that you see, it's around 1 millimeter. Okay, so now your hair that you have, sorry I didn't get a haircut, so that's why I can show you better how my hair looks. So your hair thickness, I'm not talking about the length, hair thickness is about 100 micron. You can understand the thickness of hair, that is also you cannot see by naked eyes, right? So that is around 100 micron, no way close to nanoscale. So once you go to cell, our body or every living organism has, that's got about 10 micron. Your bacteria is about 1 micron. Virus is about 100 to 200 nanometer. So now, slowly from micron, we are actually going into nanometer. So, and then your protein molecules are around 10 nanometer, and some small molecules like glucose or something, they have around 1 nanometer. So basically, when you talk about nanometer, so essentially we are talking about this particular scale. Okay, so we start with the lowest possible scale and went to very high. However, while going into that, we identified the part which we are interested in. Not that we are not interested in the other things, but at least in the present context. In that, as far as nanometer is concerned, we have identified only this much. Okay, so then how we are going to visualize, how you can see a nanomaterial. So our naked eye can pretty much, if your eyesight is very, very good, you can see about 100 micron, your thickness of your hair. From here to below, you need special kind of instrument, which we are not going to discuss too much in this particular lecture, but let's see, if we have time, we can go and discuss more. You need special instrument to actually see this. It's called electron microscopy. Okay, and the advancement of nanomaterial as a field grows with the advancement of these sophisticated instrumentations, because previously we are not able to see them. Now there is a point that we can actually visualize nanomaterial. You can actually see how it looks like. Once you see, then you also know how to modulate the structure. Okay, so that's something that is very, very interesting for us. Hopefully you have some idea about the scale of nanomaterials, right? So there are other ways of representing this. One of the ways is like this, where again you are looking at this ant and then going down. Your red blood cell is around 2 to 5 micron. Your DNA is around 2 to 12 nanometer. Okay, and eventually you come to the bottom where you have this carbon nanotube and other type of thing. Okay, so these are the ones that we are interested in. So starting, even if you compare this iron versus this, you see the scale difference is too much, too huge, right, for you to comprehend. But nowadays we have tools to actually visualize this. Nowadays people are actually talking a lot about what is coronavirus. Why? You know that now we are actually, everyone is afraid of coronavirus. Do you really know the size of coronavirus? So in the next video, I am going to show you that how small the coronavirus is with respect to a particular, some of the other objects that you might have already seen in this one. Okay, so let's see here. So your coronavirus essentially is about 120 nanometers, okay, with the diameter of it. With respect to a bacteria, this is E. coli bacteria, it's around 2 micron. With respect to clay particle, it's around 2.5. This is your red blood cell, which is 7 micron. This is skin cell, which is 20 micrometer. This is pollen particle, which is 15 micrometer. This is your sand, this is grain of sand that you have. And this is your sodium chloride, salt cube, it's 500. Okay, if you compare with the ant, which is 5 millimeters. Okay, now if you compare with the US penny, that's around 1.9 centimeter. Now finally, if you compare with an egg is around 4.5 centimeter. So hopefully this video gives you some idea about the relative scaling. That is very important for you to understand. So whenever I say, okay, 1 nanometer, at least you get some idea that it is really small as compared to when I say, let's say 1 centimeter. And also based on the factor, you can identify how small that is. Okay? So that's the basic goal of this particular introduction, which is introduction to nanoscale. Now the next topic that we are going to discuss is actually definition of nanomaterial. What is nanomaterial? Till now we haven't defined it. What we have said, we have only said that a nanoscale is around 10 to the power minus 9 meter. That's that part only we have said, and there are materials available at the nanoscale. But is it the definition? It's actually not the definition, because scientists are actually still working about defining nanomaterial in such a way that it encompasses everything that is under the nanoscale, but it's not that easy. Okay, so by definition, nanoparticle or nanomaterial, it refers to particle or material with sizes in the range of 1 to 100 nanometers in at least one dimension. Okay, so till now we have talked about this part, but that is not the definition of nanomaterial. So the definition, in order to be defined as a nanomaterial, you have to have that size range in at least one dimension. Okay, what does it mean? In fact, when we talk about the properties and classification, we'll discuss in more details. But till then, you just think that nanomaterial is something which is really tiny. It's on the order of 10 to the minus 9 meter. But at the same time, if one of the dimensions of the material is in that range, then you can say that it is a nanomaterial. And that's actually very, very important. When we start discussing classification, you'll get to know. So this is some of the examples. In fact, these are the examples that are there in your syllabus. This is a fullerene examples. This is around 0.95 nanometer. It's around 0.88 nanometer. It's very small. This is carbon nanotube. This is graphene. In fact, when you talk about this dimension part, for example here, when you talk about the dimension, in all dimensions, it's a spherical object, almost spherical. All dimension, it is less than 1 nanometer, or rather it's under the nanometer scale, so we can call it as nanometer. Here in carbon nanotube, this diameter is actually at the nanometer scale. This one doesn't have to be, this length doesn't have to be at the nanometer scale. If it's nanometer scale, then it's okay, but even if it's not, then also we can call it as a nanomaterial, because this diameter at the nanometer scale. What about graphene? This one and this one, they don't need to be at the nanometer scale. It's the height of graphene that actually should be at the nanometer scale. In fact, we call them as zero dimensional because all three are at the nanometer scale. This one we call it as one dimensional, and this one we'll call it as two dimensional material. Okay, so now we have discussed about what is nanomaterial, what is nanoscale. Now why do you really need to know about it? That's the major question that you should be asking me, right? So that means that comes to the next topic, which is importance of nanomaterials. Why do you really need to know about these nanomaterials, right? So these are some of the examples that I have just gathered. You can see in these examples pretty much everything that is shown here, they use at least one component which is at the nanoscale. Okay, in fact in your unit 2 or unit 3 you learn about battery, right? learn about graphite, you learn about lead acid battery, you learn about lithium ion. For lithium ion battery, almost all the electrode that they made is at the nanoscale. That's the reason why it can be made in such a small space. Otherwise, it's not possible. Okay, so that's the beauty of nanomaterial. So in all these cases, you pick up any topic, and I can convince you that at least one of the component in that particular application contains nanomaterial. It's pretty much everywhere. Okay, so that means in day-to-day life, not only the examples that I have shown, in day-to-day life also, you use nanomaterial even without knowing them that you are using them. Okay, for example, pharmaceuticals and healthcare, all these big instruments, and nowadays even some other things also people are, for example, drug delivery and other part also, people are using nanomaterials. Okay, agriculture, biotechnology, communication, robotics, you name it, and I can convince that it contains nanomaterial. Okay, so that means nano is everywhere. You cannot just get out of it. Okay. So in the next few slides, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to give you some examples about, to actually give you a comparison about how nanomaterials are actually becoming even more important. So let's talk about this one. Being an engineering student, I just wanted to, because you guys are engineering students, I just wanted to highlight about this particular application. So this is a 1960 computer. Look at the size. So this guy is sitting, this is huge computer, this is a mainframe computer. Okay, now as the year goes by, the size of this particular system is getting smaller, smaller and smaller. Okay, in 2020 is now basically, now it's smartphone, then people are actually trying to have millimeter scale nanosensors. Why is that improvement? We all want to make things smaller, right? If you can have entire computer on your palm, like the one that you are using right now in your smartphone, it's pretty much, it can do everything that, let's say, 1970 or 1980 computer can do. It can do even more than that. Why is it so? The major reason is, during this time, the field of nanomaterials also have progressed significantly. People have started to realize the potential of nanomaterial in every applications. Now they are trying to actually find pretty much all the application that is available and trying to see whether you can actually utilize a nanomaterial for that kind of application. In the next one, I'm going to talk about a little bit different. I'll just specify some examples which are kind of a little bit futuristic. At the same time, some of them have already been implemented. Okay, all the applications that we are going to show, they are possible or they are thought to be possible because of the progress of nanomaterial. So this is one that is done by chemists at Berkeley. They have actually made a membrane which is made of nanomaterial which can capture carbon dioxide, and that's actually huge because we all talk about greenhouse gases and everything, right? So that means carbon dioxide is not good for our health. So when you have this membrane, it can absorb the carbon dioxide. Once it absorbs the carbon dioxide, please keep this in mind that this is something about the selectivity. You don't want all the gases to be absorbed. Carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, if everything gets absorbed, you will not have oxygen to breathe in. You want only the bad ones to be captured. And this particular material exactly does that. And this is also a nanomaterial. Now, as an engineering student, again, you want to use laser and all the other things, and most of the, at least at this level, this is also done at the Berkeley with a different group. When I say Berkeley, it's University of California at Berkeley. What they have found out, that when you make nanomaterials and when you can make something like a rod shape, this is a specific type of nanomaterial. We are not going to discuss that about that one. When you make this kind of shape and when you have that particular type of nanomaterial, it not only has this kind of unique optical properties like its glows and everything, but because of this, it can also have the potential to transfer the data at a faster rate. So that means, what does that mean? That means now internet speed is slow. When you transfer one file from one computer to your mobile, everything gets slowed down, though it is pretty fast. At least when we started using them, as compared to that, it is pretty fast. But this is something that can make it even faster. So that's the beauty of this kind of thing. And this is also a class of nanomaterial. Let's go to a little bit of bio. Okay. So this is something, this is called cancer cell killing nanobots. They are, I told you, nanobots is essentially it's a nano robots. Nano is already small. So now people have thought, scientists have thought, what if I have a nanomaterial, I put some drugs on the surface, let's say cancer drugs, on the same surface I put some, we can say as a sensor, and it's a biological sensor which can sense the cancer cell. And if this material is biocompatible, if it's not toxic, then you can inject it. You can inject your body. If you have cancer, because it always has a sensor, it will go there to the cancer cell and it will deliver the drug. So it's like a robot. You ask them to do a specific task, it will do it. That's the beauty. Again, this is only possible because you need to have your materials at the nanoscale. You cannot do it with any other things. Last but not the least, this is actually a heterogeneous catalysis. So where in which this whatever this brown balls that we are seeing, that's actually a catalyst surface. This is a solid catalyst. What is a catalyst? Catalyst is a compound. We take theoretically, we know that it's a compound that can increase the rate of the reaction. In this case, it is a heterogeneous catalyst because your substrate and the catalyst are in different phase. This is a solid catalyst, whereas this is a gaseous substrate. So in this particular case, what exactly happened? In this particular case, ethylene molecule comes, sits on the catalyst. It releases 2 hydrogen and becomes acetylene. So this conversion is also possible because of the unique catalytic activity of nanomaterial. Okay, so that's why it becomes very, very interesting these days. Okay, so that means, just to conclude, this is pretty much what sums up the importance of nanomaterial. It's everywhere. You cannot live without nanomaterial. And in all the applications are related to the properties which are related to nanoscale. And that's something we really need to know. Okay? So, to summarize this, as far as this part is concerned, let's conclude at this point. To summarize this, what did we learn today? The first thing that we learned is that the prefix nano is derived from Greek word, and it's actually very small. Not only small, it's very unique. It is nearly impossible to live without encountering with the nanomaterials in today's world. Okay? And last but not the least, due to this unique property of nanomaterials, their applications continue to expand. So the properties are so different than their bulk counterpart that you will always have possibilities to explore further. So this is something that I wanted to tell you as far as today's class is concerned. So hopefully we have now finished this first part, which is I have introduced the nanoscale, I have defined nanomaterials to some extent, and I have given you enough examples to convince you, hopefully to convince you that nanomaterials are important. Okay, so with that we are going to slowly move to the next topics from next class onwards. Okay, once again thanks a lot. I would be very much happy if you guys have any questions. Please do send me an email, or you can contact me at any point of time. I would be very much happy to answer them. Okay, see you in the next class. Bye. Thank you.